y'all, it's Gretchen and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is another one of my Pearson comprehensive guides. This time it's going to be all about the forward helix. As always, my Pearson comprehensive guide topics are voted on by my patrons, so if you would like to have a vote in what the next one will be, you can head on over to my Patreon and check it out. So for this month, we are going to be focusing on the forward helix, which is quickly becoming one of my favorite cartilage piercings, even though I haven't had the best journey with mine. So whether you've had your forward helix pierced before or you're thinking about getting it done, hopefully this guide will give you a little bit of information about what to expect with getting it done, as well as anything else that may come along with it. Now, if you haven't seen any of my Pearson comprehensive guides before, you should definitely go check out the playlist, which I will have up here. Basically what happens is I go over 5 different categories, which include what is the forward helix, the procedure and pain for the forward helix, the healing and aftercare for a forward helix, jewelry sizing for a forward helix, and then jewelry options for a forward helix. All right, let's go ahead and get started. What is a forward helix? The forward helix is located in the upper part of your ear, so up here in this area. It is located on the outer part of the ear closest to your face. It is located above your dais, and kind of vertical with where your tragus is. And to be more specific, it is the smaller outer rim of your upper ear. So to really show you where it is, it's located along here. So I don't have a forward helix over here, but I do have 2 over here. So these 2 right here are forward helixes. By the way, if they look red, it's because I dyed my hair last night. Most who get a forward helix end up getting more than 1. So as you can see, I have 2 and I plan to get a 3rd. Most people end up getting a double forward helix or a triple forward helix. Now, I personally did not get them done at the same time. I got one done, let it heal, and then went back and got the other one. Since they've both healed now, I'll go back and get the 3rd one at some point. You can do either way. You can get them all done at the same time if you do plan to get more than one, or you can get one done, do the same thing that I did, let it heal, then go back for the others. So now that you know exactly which piercing we are going to be referencing, what is the procedure and pain that come along with getting a forward helix done? As always, procedure is very similar with any piercing that you get. Piercer will clean the spot, mark the spot, and let you decide on what placement is best for you. I will say for the forward helix, if you know that you will eventually want to get more than one, but don't want to get more than one at that moment, be sure to tell your piercer so they can place which one you're getting right now appropriately. That's what I did when I got my first one done. I was like, I do eventually want to get 1 or 2 more to make it either a double or a triple. And then that way the piercer was like, all right, let's start with this spot. And that way it won't look weird if you decide not to get more, but if you do decide to get more, it'll work out for you. So if you know ahead of time that, I might want to get another one done eventually, just not right now, be sure to tell your piercer so they know exactly where to place it. And procedure is pretty much standard. Piercer washes hands, removes jewelry from sterilized packaging, wears gloves, all that fun stuff. This piercer, as always, may or may not use clamps. When I got both of mine done, the piercer did use clamps. Clamps are a preference on the piercer. It's what they're most comfortable with. If they're not comfortable using clamps, they may not use it. If they are comfortable using them, they may use them. So don't worry if your piercer doesn't use clamps. It's just based on their preference. And for my specific example, my piercer did use clamps because they wanted to make sure that everything was steady and everything was even. When this piercing is done, it is usually from the outside of the ear going in. So it usually will not be from the inside going out, outside in. And as always, as I always mention, pain varies person to person. So what's painful for you may not be for me. What's painful for me may not be for you. Now I will say, from my personal experience, so many people told me in DMs, oh my gosh, my forward helix was absolutely painful. It was awful. Be prepared for it to be painful. I always go into a piercing appointment thinking that it's gonna be the worst, and then am pleasantly surprised when it isn't. Some may actually tell you that because it is a thinner piece of cartilage there compared to areas like the conch, the rook, the tragus, anything like that, that it might actually be more painful. I've had different experiences where it's like the other way around. The thicker the cartilage, the more painful it is, but again, pain levels vary. Now for me, both of my forward helixes were not painful to get done at all. On a scale of 1 to 10, I'd say they were a 3. They were not bad at all. But there are some people that will tell you theirs was an 8 out of 10. It just depends. All right, no one's favorite part, healing and aftercare for a forward helix piercing. What should you expect? Typical healing time is 3 to 12 months. Yes, That is quite a range. But because of placement, the forward helix doesn't take nearly as long to heal as other cartilage piercings. However, please know 3 months is the minimum, like bare minimum it will take to heal. Usually cartilage piercings are in the 6 to 12 months range. Much like pain, the timeline for how long it takes your piercing to heal varies person to person. So it may have healed in 3 months for your friend, but it may take 8 months for you. It just depends on your body. It also depends on your aftercare and how well you care for it and are aware of anything that may potentially irritate it. Speaking from personal experience, I know I forgot about mine a lot. Not for cleaning it, but just in everyday life, especially with mask wearing. I would just pull my mask off and it would catch on my forward helix and then I'd remember it, because wow, that was painful. Because of this, it's way easier to cause irritation for it, which can lead to problems and prolonging the healing process. One thing for me, swelling was a huge issue that I came across with both of mine being done, and that was not a fun experience. But it did come from me just plain forgetting about it, and then something would irritate it to the point of swelling. As with any new piercing or old piercing, always handle it with clean hands. Don't be touching it after, don't be touching it just all the time. Leave it alone. If you are gonna touch it, please clean your hands before you do so. If you're a side sleeper, avoid sleeping on the side that you've had it done on. And like I mentioned in every video, you can do one of two things. You can either clean it with a pre-made saline solution or you can make your own. Pre-made ones, H2 Ocean, Neomed, both have great options. Spray it directly onto the piercing, let it soak for a little bit, and then rinse it off because you don't want that salt left behind because that can lead to irritation. Basically, everything can irritate it. If you do create your own, please make sure that you create it properly. You should be using warm, distilled, or bottled water. Do not use tap water because there are things in tap water that should not go on a brand new piercing. You will then mix 1/8 to 1/4 of a teaspoon of non-iodized sea salt. Do not use any more than 1/4 of a teaspoon because guess what? It can irritate it. Once you've mixed that up, you can soak it. You can either put your ear directly into the solution or you can take a Q-tip, a cotton round. I wouldn't recommend a cotton ball because the fibers are way too loose. A lot of people will say don't use a Q-tip either. I personally find better experiences using a Q-tip than anything else, but it's basically just be mindful of what you're using and know that little fibers can accidentally get caught on the jewelry, which guess what? Can lead to irritation. When you are cleaning your piercing, don't overdo it. 2 to 3 times a day is all you need to do. 2 is a pretty good number, once in the morning, once in the evening. If you do notice crusties throughout the day or any kind of oozing, you can do that 3rd time, but over cleaning, say it with me, can irritate the piercing, but also under cleaning can just make it gross. You can also end up using a gentle cleanser, but it is not recommended to do it early on in the early stages of healing. Wait until it's a little bit older, like a few weeks older. That's not always the case. Some piercers will even recommend, hey, you can use a gentle cleanser. I'm going off of what I have researched online as well as what I have personally experienced from my piercers, saying it's best not to use a gentle cleanser right away, but that doesn't mean that you can't eventually use one, especially if you're noticing issues pop up. As always, do not use things like hydrogen peroxide, alcohol, Bactine, Neosporin, anything like that. Just don't. It's not good for the piercing. Bactine even tells you on their website, hey, don't use this on a piercing. And so if they're telling you not to use their product, probably shouldn't. Alcohol products dry out the skin, which you don't want. Neosporin and Bactine prevent oxygen from reaching the piercing site, which your piercing needs to breathe in order to heal. And above all else, don't mess with the jewelry. It's okay if it moves a little bit while you're cleaning it, but don't sit there and twist it. Don't do that. I know there are some places that tell you to twist the jewelry. Don't do that. It's not good for it. Don't mess with the jewelry as much as possible. Again, if you're cleaning the piercing site, the jewelry might move a little bit, but don't move it any more than that. All right, now onto the fun stuff that everyone likes, jewelry. So we're gonna start with, what is the jewelry sizing for a forward helix typically? Forward helixes are typically pierced at 16 gauge, 3/8 of an inch. That is a pretty long bar. It's gonna stick out. But that is to account for swelling. Much like any other cartilage piercing that you may get, 3/8 of an inch is a pretty standard starter jewelry size. They may give you 5/16 of an inch, but typically it's 3/8 to account for swelling. As with any cartilage piercing, this can be downsized roughly 6 to 8 to 12 weeks after you've had it done, depending on the swelling. And when it's downsized, it usually goes to 5/16 of an inch in length. That is pretty much the standard for any cartilage piercing, though you may find that 1/4 of an inch is also comfortable for you. Just kind of depends on your ear anatomy and like the cartilage thickness and how much you want it to have a little bit of wiggle room. But the common size is 16 gauge, 5/16 of an inch. Now for jewelry options. There are a variety of jewelry options that you can have for the forward helix. There are your basic ones that are super common, and then there are ones that you don't see as often, but there's no reason why you can't use it. So the most common one is the labre or the labre. I get corrected in every video that I mention this type of jewelry, so you know what? It's gonna be like Daith and Doth because I can't win. The most common is a labre. That's what I have in mine. I have threadless labres in mine right there. They're my preferred ones, and that is pretty much the most common type that you're gonna see in a forward helix. However, if you so much want a hoop in yours, you can totally do it. So things like a circular barbell, horseshoe, or a captive bead ring, or a seamless ring, or a segment ring. You can totally do those. You can also do curved barbells. I've seen those done before where it's like the part that hangs down, like hangs on top of where the rook is. So if you have a rook, probably wouldn't work out, but if you want to do a curved barbell, you could. Just know that there's a bigger chance of it snagging on things and causing irritation. And then finally, every single piercing can have a retainer put in it. So this is just a basic rundown of what to expect with the forward helix, whether you have one or not. You know, if you just got one and you'd like to know a little bit more about it, hopefully this guide is useful. Also, if you're looking at getting one done, again, hopefully this guide is useful for you. Let me know in the comments below if you have a forward helix. Do you have one? Do you have two? Do you have three? I don't think I've ever, no, I was about to say I've never seen one with four, but actually I have. Pretty sure I did on Pinterest or something like that. But let me know in the comments below if you have a forward helix or multiple forward helix. Also, let me know in the comments below if you've been thinking about getting a forward helix, but just haven't done it yet. Are you planning to do one or more than one? Let me know. And again, if you would like to vote on the next comprehensive piercing guide, my Patreon link is in the description below, so you can head over there and check out that. Special thank you to my patrons. You can help support the channel on Patreon while having access to videos early, viewing patron-only content, and more. But that is it for this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a big ol' thumbs up. Go on down there and hit that subscribe button, wherever it may be, because I don't know. Even though I do, this is just my shtick now. Also hit that notification bell in case you want to know when I upload, and in case YouTube wants to let you know when I upload, because I would really appreciate it. And until next time, bye all!